Hey, what up, fam? It's your boy Norm, and I think it is time we review some music. So, we're going to play a song, and then we're going to talk about this album. And it's only been out for about 6 months, so we're just a little bit behind. But I'm going to jump in. We're going to let this song play through, and then we'll jump in and talk about The Appendix by Curt Kennedy.
These secrets in my head, oh, how they burden me. These secrets in my head burn with urgency. If I tell you one or two or three, can you keep them between you and me? Dirty secrets.
Today started in 343 BC with Aristotle's bravado and climate theory that followed. The father of philosophy, Socrates, his grandson, had this ideology that blacks were not handsome. Satan, you command them. He said the son at ransom is wrath on the Africans. The impact it blackened them. None of this is random. Africans are inferior and destined to be slaved by the mentally more superior. In Aristotle's politics, judgments about a whole race as incapable of self-governance because the black face was burnt, so the mind is unlearned. So go to that place and enslave them, cause they won't resist. In fact, they can't wait, they're not brazen. So you can persist and add this twist that naturally and physically, even with breath of this, with the sun as its philosophical justification, he outshine the sun in true justification to some.
Aristotle provides a quite elaborate defense, an elaborate justification of slavery. Aristotle, in other words, offers a theory of slavery, an account of why slavery is justified.
Now Judaism had the narrative of creation, that God in his image, humanity, he would make them forsake him. It's exactly how Adam lived. So when Jesus was dying and felt forsaken, it was God doing what Adam did. It's deeper than that, but that we'll come back to. Now back to the Genesis scene. So can I ask you, was made in God's image and skin tone? What color? He was made from the dirt. So did he look like a brother? Doesn't matter. Humanity fell, so Christ came through and said that all who believe in him would be the same to claim to be God, and he was in humility, made us all one. There's no wall of hostility, no free, no slave, no Jew and no Greek. In Christ the imago Dei, skin tone is meek. So how did the church then allow this insanity and trust Aristotle's understanding of humanity?
I've discovered, after becoming a Christian, in fact, I discovered that most people just completely misunderstand the intellectual history of Christianity. There have been great philosophers, Anselm, Aquinas.
Now Jesus commanded that people should love their neighbors the same as themselves, that Paul would explain later. The scripture was the rule of authority for the Christian, but the mission was explain it to others in hopes they listen. So they glisten, gleaning from philosophy's tradition, because critical thinking, it was highly respected during the Greco-Roman world, where the Christians would be neglected. Philosophy and faith, it worked better than they expected. This proficient, a part of the gospel, this expedition would include philosophical diatribes for conviction. Philosophy was needed to use and help the conditions for the Christians to be taken more seriously in their wisdom. What it did was prove that what we believe ain't for kids. People called it unintellectual when it did come. So early theologians were studying Aristotle, and the later theologians were easily
And this
quick
time
to
we're
follow.
going to talk about Christianity, which was the major religion of Europe during the Middle Ages. Now, to really understand it, as with anything medieval, you have to understand the ancient context relatively well for anything in the Middle Ages to truly make sense, and that is very true of Christianity. Christianity emerged in the ancient world and was a product of...
Alrighty, so I'm going to go ahead and fade that out and let that go for a minute. I want to give you some. It's a 7-minute song, so again, this album is huge. It has 26 tracks on it, and yeah, it is an amazing album. Curt Kennedy, I hadn't heard of him until earlier on last year. He did They had him on as a guest on Wrath and Grace Radio on the podcast, which was like my first introduction to him. And then he dropped C4, and man, I mean that he climbed up into, I mean, immediately into my top 5. Appendix has jumped dude up into my top 3. Surprisingly enough, people, I mean, this is almost blasphemy to say, but Curt Kennedy knocked Shai Linne out of my top 3. So, you know, but musically, this is a great album. He has some really good beats on here that are some old school beats. Man, the one on Sheesh, I can't remember what sample he used, but I want to say, like, not Patti LaBelle, but Anita Baker as a sample on one of the songs, and just some really good old school, and then some newer stuff too. The beats are just great. I tend to get caught up in a beat and forget to listen to the words, and so, and with lyrical theology that we get from guys like Kurt and Hazakim and Ivy and Shai and all those guys, Result, Omri. I can go on and on all night long and just name all the great the guys that are just amazing rappers and artists and theologians. But you got to listen to the words. And so we did the reaction video hangout thing a few months back, and I had reviewed Gay is the New Black. I think I did a review for C4, and so on. And I was like, dude, it's going to take me 3 more months to really get to the point where I can feel like I've wrapped my head enough around this album to do a complete review of it. And honestly, I don't know if I still have my whole head wrapped around this album, but there's such an education in here. What I love about Curt Kennedy is he and I sit, obviously we're very close to the same age. We came up listening to some of the same stuff. If you listen to Cross Examine, the new podcast that he and Tone Stallone are doing, from Hazakim, the new podcast they're doing, just the stuff that the different things about, like hip hop love songs and beats and stuff like that. Obviously we're around the same age. We came up listening to the same stuff, because as they're talking about it, I'm like picking out the songs they need to play before they played them, and they played them. So, I just got lost just in my own ramblings. But, so back to the appendix. This is, I mean, there's 26 tracks. He starts out, I mean, he maintains a consistent worldview based in the gospel and in theology. And so he's not, you know, somebody who will give preference to one side or the other, the right or the left, Republicans or Democrats, conservatives or liberal, white, black, whatever. He's looking at the situation the same way I try to do my podcasts from, to look at them from a Christian viewpoint and always maintain a consistent worldview based on the gospel. And that's what this album does. And I mean, there's some stuff in there. Just a couple of the different tracks, Rednecks and, which caught me off guard. I mean, I came up listening to Tupac and Ice Cube and Public Enemy and X-Clan and all these guys. So I've heard the N-word dropped millions of times in songs. I was kind of shocked to get it, but in the context and everything else, granted, if you got a 2-year-old repeater like I've got my little girl, you don't want to play it while she's there or they're there. But it's a good song, and just the meaning behind it, the message behind it. Gay is the New Black, I did a whole review just for that. Dad, talking about fathers and so on. The gospel, and then the least of these, just talking about, I mean, it wraps everything up in we need to be reaching out. We need to be sharing the gospel. We need to be, we need to be gospel centered in every aspect of our life. And so from our treatment of of brothers and sisters in the church, sheesh is, I mean, there was a lot of conviction for me in that song, because I do my thing on social media, and I've probably called out some brothers who are our brothers now. Again, I'm go to town. I say go to town on the heretics, guys like Joel Osteen and Paula White and so on, that are just absolutely heretical teachers. Yeah, Paul was great with sarcasm and mockery of some of these false teachers. I say go to town. But when it's a brother that is within orthodoxy and we just disagree on some little things, I mean, and I hate to say little things as like racial issues as being little things, but when we disagree on that, to go after them, and just the attitude of we just want to be right sometimes, those are the things that we need to look at. And Sheesh talks about that, and I was a little convicted on that. And a lot of these are connect back to songs off of C4. So if you haven't listened to C4, listen to that, then listen to the appendix. But you're not going to be disappointed in any way, shape, or form. This is a phenomenal album. You're going to enjoy it musically. You're going to enjoy the message that's within it. And you're gonna benefit. That Curt is, I mean, my brother is a pastor, and so teaching is obviously a gifting, and it comes out even in the music that he makes. And so again, spoiler alert, Jesus wasn't white, Muhammad wasn't black. That drops in the album. So if you didn't know that, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to spoil it for you. Go get the album and check it out and listen. So, and again, now I'm going to beat the same drum that I always beat every time I talk about music. Go buy this album. You're probably not going to find it streaming in too many places, because my brother needs to make money off of this. This is, I mean, lyrical theology, and these guys that are reformed and really want to share the gospel, they drop this stuff because they love their brother and they want people to learn and be saved and the gospel to be preached, and ultimately, above all things, they want God to be glorified. But they're also doing this to try to make a living, to use the talents that God has given them to support their families and to make a living. And so please, don't just go find this and stream it. Don't steal it. Don't rip it off from your friend, or don't let them burn you a CD or any of those things. Go out and buy it. I recommend this one. Go to wrathandgrace.com. Buy the album there. That is probably the place where Curt is going to benefit the most, and the ministry of Wrath and Grace is going to benefit the most. And while you're there, buy some shirts. Buy a hoodie, buy some t-shirts, I'm going to rep the Wrath and Grace there, bam. And so support these ministries by using your wallet to show your support for these guys. So go out, cop this album while you're there, get some books, get some other, t-shirts, whatever it is. I'm gonna try to do one of these a day. There's about 4 albums I want to review, and it's been a long time since I've done any kind of music review. So I'm gonna drop one of these each day for the next 4 or 5 days, and prepare yourself, because every time I'm gonna tell you to go out, buy the album. So go pick these up. The appendix, pick up C4. I'm still convinced that somewhere within this 26 tracks, Omri's album is somewhere hidden inside there. Maybe it's somewhere. Omri's album is somewhere. I intend to find it. Jay, I'm gonna find it. Find Omri's album. So go buy the Appendix, buy the album, support our brothers who are making good, solid, theological, well-made, well-produced, entertaining hip-hop. Support our brothers. Go buy Curt Kennedy's The Appendix. Subscribe to the podcast, man. You're good. If you love hip-hop, you're going to love Cross-Examine. So go to iTunes, go to, I should have put up a thing for that. Graphic. That was the word I was looking for. Go to iTunes, go to Google Play, Spotify, wherever it is that you listen to your podcast, and subscribe to Cross-Examine. If you want, they get into some political stuff and they get into some theological stuff, but a lot of it is just, I've loved is just the parts where they're just talking about hip hop. And coming up, my favorite episode until this last week, I gotta say my favorite episode was this week, talking about abortion, because that's my heart, fam. And but my favorite one was the love songs episode. So go check those out. Cross-Examine, iTunes, Google Play, wherever you get your podcasts, and then go buy C4 and the Appendix. Can't have one without the other. Go pick them up at wrathandgrace.com. Support our brothers, support lyrical theology, and as always, preach the gospel at all times. Use words, they're necessary. And until next time, Soli Deo Gloria.